fear through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with a win. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Disciples of Ed here on the Always Next to Your podcast. Back after being off for last week and me being on my deathbed 2 weeks ago. I've since have come back off my deathbed and come back to life. But I'm your host, Rob, and today I am only joined by Steve as Shane is otherwise obligated. Steve, how's it going?
Not so bad. We're doing really fucking well so far, and it's good to see.
Yeah, it really is good to see. By the way, I just noticed that you do indeed have a beer over there. I thought you were drinking water.
I do have a water. I need that, but I do have a beer. And the other 2 or 3 beers I have left are for our backyard beers and football show.
Yeah, I thought you were switching it up over there, but you do indeed have a beer. But as you said, yeah, things are going well. The Flyers, one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now. They had the most points in the NHL in the month of November, and I believe the franchise record, for most points in a month.
It was the same, yeah.
Yeah. They're going out there. They're playing really well. They're beating some good teams. They're also beating teams that they should be beating.
Nice change up there.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Going out there and winning what I would probably call the closest 6-1 game of all time last night. What was it, 2-1 with like 3 minutes left?
Yeah, 10 minutes left, actually. It was 2-1, and then they just, I think it was 1-1.
Yeah,
and then 10 minutes
left. It was tied,
and
then Giroux scored the go-ahead goal, 10 minutes left.
Off a sick pass from Konechny.
That was filthy. That was so filthy.
And it was like not the first time that he's done that, like behind like the net, behind the back pass, and then it happened to be Giroux again, I think. And it's just, he's got it down. This is his breakout year, and we're loving it and we're seeing it.
Yeah, it really is. He's been excellent the whole season. Went a few games without putting points up, but he's gotten back to his point-scoring ways these last few games. So yeah, the highlight reel assist last night, and then the game before that was ended on a spectacular goal by Provorov. He went between the legs and around the defender, raced to the front of the net, and then put the overtime winner past whatever the backup goalie is for Montreal.
It was Keith Kincaid, and he was put on waivers
Right after that.
Ruined his NHL career,
yeah,
hopefully.
Pretty much. Well, that's what he gets for being a Devil for all that time.
Yeah, that's true. Can't argue that.
Yeah.
And also, screw the Canadians.
Yeah. So, the Flyers rebel hot right now, and they go to, I think the next couple games are...
It was Arizona and Ottawa, I think.
Arizona and Ottawa. Arizona's having a nice season, but they're still Arizona. The Flyers should beat them. And then Ottawa, a team that they kind of fell apart against earlier in the season, but the way that they're playing right now, I don't see them losing that game. But anyway, these last few games here, Flyers playing their best hockey of the season. Yeah. And what has, I guess, stood out to you as something that's really been key to their success?
It's really been like the overall team game. Seems like, and even with like the 6th defensive spot being like kind of like a rotation between Ghost, Myers, and Hag, and Vigneault, I think, mentioned it right before the game yesterday. He was like, yeah, this is basically a rotation right now, and it's kind of working. I'm hoping, as I'm sure everybody is, that like eventually it will expand upon that, where it's just like, you have Ghost and Myers, and then Hag is your 7th defenseman. But right now, as need be, you're okay with the rotation. Like say you're playing a more physical game or a more physical team, you just bring in Hag and maybe drop like say Ghost, say Myers. But I know you're not too high on Ghost anymore. I still am.
Yeah.
And his goal last night, and I'm hoping that it's gonna propel his confidence.
Absolute Hollandser of a slap shot, by the way.
I know, it was great to see.
Yeah,
live.
Yeah, I'm not a Ghost guy, as you mentioned, but that was a filthy snipe there.
It was classic, like rookie and like 3rd season Ghost. It seemed like, and that's great to see. We need to see more of it, obviously, and hopefully this boosts his confidence, and he continues to do it again.
Hey, and then the icing on the cake, he picked up a garbage time assist, like 11 seconds later?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, which one was that? It wasn't JVR, was it?
I think it was the JVR goal. I think he was the one who flipped it out to center ice, and then JVR caught up to it, went in on a breakaway.
Yeah, and he scored a breakaway goal. It was great to see.
Yeah, a whole bunch of things that you don't normally see, we're finally seeing. By the way, I mentioned it on Twitter last night, but I loved the fact that the Flyers kept going. I love the fact that they kept the pedal to the floor and just blew out the Maple Leafs, because how many times have we seen it where they have a game where they have like a 4-1 lead and then they kind of take the foot off the gas, and then the next game they have no momentum to start off.
Yeah, I agree. And I was at the game with my sister, and I was literally saying to her, I tweeted this out. It was a terrible worded tweet, but it was 3-1, I think.
Mm-hmm. And after the Konechny goal, yeah.
This was the connecting goal, so it was 2-1, I guess.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's great to see a coach that's still putting Konechny out there while you're holding the lead. And as I'm saying that, he's coming in on that 2-on-1, and I was like, for moments like this. And then he scored as soon as I said that. And I just cheered, and I was just pointing out, like, for moments like this. It was like it's great to call out a goal. I can do it all the time in the NHL games, but it was just great to see it in live action.
That's too funny.
And
perfect timing.
Exactly. It was fantastic to see, the fantastic moment. But it is great. Like, this team, for as bad as they have kind of played this year, it's still better than like what we've seen in years prior. Mm-hmm. They still continue to like attempt to attack, at least attempt when they're in the lead, and they don't sit back anymore, which is a terrible way of playing. And they continue to try to attack, and they do it. And in a game like last night, it was crazy. They're up 2-1, and then they continue to attack, and then you know what happens? The floodgates open, and then all of a sudden you score 5 goals in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Fantastic to see. I'm not going to say it's going to happen all the time. It would be nice. It's not going to. But against a good team like the Maple Leafs, who was just coming out of a slump with their new coaching hire.
Actually been playing pretty well, though, since they hired the new coach.
I think they were like, what, 6-1 since they hired them? Yeah. And it's just great to see. Just put them back down. Just put them back down. They're in a different division. You just ruin their confidence even more. And then you build off of your fantastic November, and then it seems like it's a good sign of things to come with this team. But at the same time, we've seen 10-game winning streaks on to make the playoffs. So
yeah,
I feel a lot more confident with this team.
You know what's crazy, though, is the Flyers won last night 6-1. The Maple Leafs, I thought, were actually the better team for a good part of that game. Maybe the first period and most of the second period until Scott Lawton scored the opening goal late in the second period. But yeah, for a good portion of that game, Toronto probably was the better team out there. And then the Flyers scored, and then the Maple Leafs got that fluky goal to tie it up, and then the floodgates opened for the Flyers after that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, the first period was not our best. But it seems like this is kind of like a recurring thing where, like, we're not getting off to a slow start. It's just, like, we're not, like, getting, like, what we're going to get going. It's just not quite happening yet. And I think I've read on Twitter, it's like they do, like, a dump and chase, and then they switch it up.
Yeah.
And I like that philosophy where, like, the coaching staff is, like, realizing, okay, this isn't working. Change it up. And then you end up winning the game.
It's very un-Hackstall-like.
Right. The whole team right now is un-Hackstall-like, which is great to see.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But, I mean, like, you gave up 15 shots in the first period, and I think they end up with 28 against.
Yeah, so more than half the shots that they surrendered came in the first period.
Exactly, and you know what? Carter Hart, being the great Carter Hart that we have hoped for, someone expected after last year, it's great to see it.
Yeah, should have had a shutout last night, gave up that one lucky goal.
Yeah.
But,
well, shitty goals happen.
Yeah, not much.
Also, my sister said shutout, and then
well, it's her fault then. Naturally, it's her fault for saying the S word.
Right.
The S word is forbidden until the other team scores.
Yeah. It's forbidden unless the other team scores, or it's like 5 minutes after the game.
Yeah. Yeah, within that, you have a 5-minute grace period after the game and make sure that something stupid doesn't happen. Like the referees go back and say, oh, Toronto should have had a goal at some point.
Right.
Which, I mean, can't happen, but you know it would somehow.
You got to play it safe than sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But One thing about the Flyers I noticed, nobody's really eye-popping on the stat sheet. Their highest scorer is Konechny, who is still a touch under a point per game.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's great to see.
Yeah, it's so spread out. I mean, Giroux has been playing a lot better lately. Voracek's got his point totals up now. Kevin Hayes has come alive after his 10-game point-scoring slump that he went through. So yeah, there's production all up and down the lineup. The defense has been a lot better than I think anybody has expected them to be. And lastly, the goaltending. Carter Hart, after his early season slump, is playing the way that we've expected him to play, and Brian Elliott's filling in pretty admirably when he's needed.
Yes, and I'm just hoping that he doesn't get hurt and just keeps that up.
Yeah, that's the one hurdle for Elliott. He's always going to get hurt at some point during the season. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he can stay healthy so that he's there when the Flyers need him to be.
Right, and we didn't have a show last week, but I was fully prepared to say this if we did. It seems like that Alain Vigneault has realized the true fact in the world that if you have a player that is struggling, just put him on the line with Sean Couturier.
It seems to work pretty well.
It does. Jake Voracek right now, he seems like he has his confidence back in the offensive zone, and it looks great. And every now and then, like, it doesn't work out so well, but like I personally can see what he was trying to do, and I'm like, I can't blame him for it because it was a smart, skilled move. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing, it looked like he was trying to, I don't remember what game it was, but it looked like he was trying to, like, redirect a pass with his skate to the defenseman and then just went completely, like, the opposite way.
Uh-huh.
So everybody was like, what the fuck is he doing? Me, I'm like, I know exactly what he was doing, or at least I hope this is what he was doing. And then, I think it was last night, he actually looked back and then was trying to back-end pass, and then it was a turnover. But someone was in the vicinity of where he was looking.
Yeah.
It just ended up being a turnover.
Just didn't work out, yeah.
But it's good to see him playing confident offensive hockey, and then everybody else just... This is... I said it last year, like, it was the most depth we've had throughout a lineup. This is truly that plus 10.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, and
it's really, really fun to watch this team.
It is. There's no real, like, big hole in our lineup right now, and it's been too long, I should say. So it's great to see.
Yeah, and one of the things I mentioned, the defense has played really well, better than people have expected them to play so far. And do you think that it would be fair to say that Matt Niskanen was one of the more underrated acquisitions by any NHL team in the offseason?
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty fair to say. Me, as a noted kind of negative Nancy about it, where, like, my main problem with it was helping the Capitals out with cap space. But Niskanen has proven to be, like, what we were hoping him to be. That's solidifying, like, leader on the defense, helping Provorov out. Just really overall helping out, like, our full, like, defensive, like, core. And he has done that. Even, like, the little plays, the big plays, everything, he has done extremely well, and I'm hoping that it lasts until the end of the year. I think, is he a free agent after this year? I'm not 100% sure.
I know I'm check that for you. I believe that he is.
I know I'm usually the cap-friendly guy, but I just can't remember it right now. But he's the guy, like, right now, I would probably give him, like, at least one more year after this. Not for the same money, obviously, but he just seems, like, so crucial to, like, the flow and the chemistry of the defense.
Googling Niskanen contract and waiting for the internet to catch up to me here. I believe he is, but we'll find out in just 1 second here, since this shit fucking works. Goddamn internet, come on.
I'm thinking I'm going to get it before you, so let's see. He is...
Yeah, he's a UFA after 2021.
Okay, so we got him for 1 more year.
Yeah.
So we'll reevaluate then. Justin Braun, I think, is the free agent after this year.
Yeah, he's at $5.7 million, which isn't a terrible cap hit.
Yeah, no, especially for what he's bringing right now. As long as he continue that next year, it'll be great. Yeah. But the other thing is Philip Myers earning his spot.
Absolutely.
Fantastic to see. It was funny. I went on ESPN.com today just to like look at like the time on ice and like on the box score and everything. I saw 5 defensemen listed. I'm like, who the fuck's missing here? They had Philip Myers listed as a right winger. I'm like, fucking ESPN.
Don't trust them for hockey. Do not trust them for hockey.
This is exactly what I said to my coworkers while I was looking at it. But yeah, him and then Ghost. Like, the real goal, I think, is to have them develop some chemistry, and then just have Hag come in like every once in a while, maybe trade. But it seems like it's working out. Like, even if like your third pair is a rotation, like I was saying earlier, it seems like everything is working out for this team, and like chemistry and just full out like line all the way up and down the lineup seems perfect right now.
Yeah, it's whatever AV puts out there, it's working. So he's been able to really successfully mix and match all the personnel and get the most out of all the players, which has been really good to see, because that's something that a certain head coach before had no idea how to do.
Fucking starting Joy Laterra and Dale Weiss over some players. Huh.
By the way, I love that quote from Voracek the other day after he scored that the game winner against Vancouver. He said he got that fuck you kind of attitude that you need to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Voracek, I mean, I spent a year down covering the team, so I was down in the locker room after every game a couple seasons ago, and I can tell you, he was easily the most entertaining interview after every single game. So that's it's not surprising to hear that he said that, and he said he got his swagger back with scoring that goal.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because he says the fuck you attitude.
Yeah.
Which I feel like AV kind of like is trying to like, I can't think of the word, like, get them on. Like, I feel like he wants them to, like, yeah, go out there, play your fucking game, and just fuck them.
Yeah, well, it showed through last night when they scored 4 goals in the final 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah. Again, great to see live.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, coming off the 6-1 win over Toronto, coming up next for the Flyers, as we mentioned before, tomorrow night, a home game against the Arizona Coyotes, who I've finally gotten over the hump of calling them the Phoenix Coyotes. I can now successfully call them the Arizona Coyotes without having to double back on that. But they're playing them tomorrow night, and then I believe it's Saturday against the Ottawa Senators. And then after that, 3 days off, and then a West Coast, or a Western Conference, I should say, road trip. But, okay, 2 teams. The Flyers don't have a whole lot of history with either one of these teams. You mentioned...
I had to call you out on that.
Yeah, you did.
It was another game
that was literally the one moment that the Flyers had with the Senators. So I'm assuming that's your big memory between the Flyers and the Senators that you want to talk about a little bit here.
It was the first game that my parents let me and my sister go to, like, just by ourselves.
Uh-huh.
And it happened to be that insane, fantastic 419 penalty minute game. And it all started because Martin Havlat tried to like kill Mark Recchi or something. Yeah, tried to poke his eye out.
The game before that they played against each other.
Yep, but they didn't forget in that time. So then it happened, and then like I think Havlat like tried to start more shit, and then they just the refs just hit him in the penalty box for like as long as possible, like a 10-minute game misconduct, and then the fisticuffs were just out there. The famous down goes Spezza game. Patrick Sharp laying out Jason Spezza. Everything about that game was great. Robert Esch fought, I think it was Patrick Lalime.
Lalime, yeah.
And then Sean Burke went in, let up a goal because he was fucking old Sean Burke. It was just a great fucking game to be at, to witness. It's a game that I've actually watched quite a few times in my life because I had the 10 Greatest Games Flyers. Oh, yeah. And I think it was part of it.
That was also the game where Brashear broke Rob Ray's face.
Oh, yeah, fuck Rob Ray. But yeah, you're not wrong.
There was a lot going into that game, if I remember correctly, too, because it was a season before where the Senators knocked the Flyers out in 5 games, and the Flyers only scored 2 goals.
Oh, yeah.
In the whole entire series.
I think it was Dan McGillis and maybe Ruslan Fedotenko.
Ruslan Fedotenko, overtime winner in Game 1.
And then Dan McGillis was the other goal.
In Game 5, yeah.
The things I remember.
They literally went 2, 3, and 4 without scoring a goal. 3 straight shutouts.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had that, and it was the first time I think they had beaten the Senators in a while. Because they won that game. It was like 5-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so they kind of had that getting the monkey off the back kind of thing going, and the hatred towards the Senators, and then obviously, as you mentioned, the Havlat thing going into it, and it was the most beautiful melee of all time.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like that made me hate Martin Havlat in general as a person, as a hockey player. And then he went to the Chicago later in his career, and I was like, I actually respect this guy as a player.
And then he got freight trained by Nick Cronwall in the playoffs.
He got Cronwalled, and then he died, basically.
So you started to like him, and then he finally paid his dues for what he did.
Pretty much, life comes full circle.
Yeah, it really does sometimes. So one negative takeaway from last night's Flyers game, Michael Raffle broke his pinky, out for 4 months. What's next for the Flyers in that regard? Who do you see coming in and filling that void in the lineup?
So I gave you a couple of options that I wanted to see. I gave you one I really wanted to see, and then I gave you the actual realistic ones. And the one did happen, and it was the one you wanted. You wanted Vorobyev.
Vorobyev, yep.
And he did get called up. My waddling out theory that I was saying was calling up Abi Kubel to play the wing, and then just moving Lawton down and JVR back up. You still have somewhat of a good depth there with how well Lawton's been playing. And then you have Abi Kubel and Pitlick, who just seem like your go-getting wingers, your hustlers and everything. They can do everything right, all the little things. And then Lawton just, he does the same, and he has a little bit more skill. But they did call up Vorobyev. My other secondary option there was maybe they call up Andy Andreoff, just see what he can do again. But they eventually with Vorobyev, so we'll see how it goes. Hopefully he can finally stick it.
Yeah, for you listeners, if you weren't listening last time, I believe I stated that Andy Andreoff does not belong on an NHL sheet of ice, and I will stick to that. So I'm happy that they came up with they brought up Vorobyev. I think that he does have something to offer to the team when he gets a chance to play, and with AV, he's not going to be buried getting 5 minutes a game like he was under our former head coach, who we've already mentioned too many times tonight. So yeah, I think.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I want to go back to that. Okay. Fuck Dave Haxtell, and it seemed like that game and how we finished that out against the Maple Leafs was the pure fuck Dave Haxtell game.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. That's a good way to think of it.
So yeah, sorry. Continue.
No, I was just gonna say I like what Vorobyev could potentially bring to the team. I think that if there's any coach that can get the most out of him, then AV's the guy, because we've seen what he's been able to do by mixing and matching players in the lineup so far this season. He's been able to get a lot of guys going and get more out of some players than, other coaching staffs would. So I think that Vorobyev, just his talent level alone, AV can use that and do a bunch of different things with it. So for this next month, which will be some crucial hockey games for the Flyers in terms of getting their footing in the standings and kind of cementing themselves as a playoff team.
Yeah. Hey, top 5 in points right now.
Yeah. Yeah, top 5. What are we, 5 points ahead of Pittsburgh with the same amount of games played?
Wasn't sure, but it's good to hear.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing to hear.
But the touchback on your Vorobyev thing, I think he's a guy that he'll get penalty killing time, but it was great to hear today that AV thinks that Joel Farabee will get some penalty killing time. I think that will greatly help Vorobyev to focus on playing the fourth line minutes. Keep JVR with him. I think they could develop a good chemistry. Vorobyev seems like a playmaker, and just overall defensively sound. It'll help JVR get up the ice. Pitlick, again, it's going to do the dirty work. I think it's a line that could really mesh, especially for a fourth line getting you would think the easier minutes. And then Joel Farabee on the penalty kill. We'll probably see 2 shorthanded goals from him.
It's so refreshing to actually have a fourth line. Not putting out Van de Velde and Belmar and all those bum-ass names every night.
I've been clamoring for this kind of fourth line for about 7 years.
Right. It's been a long time coming, but they finally got it, and I think that's a huge reason why they're having the kind of success that they're having right now, because they can roll 4 lines.
Absolutely fucking agree.
Another thing we want to touch on, as well as the Flyers have been playing lately, it's not really showing off at the Wells Fargo Center in terms of fans filling the seats. And Anthony Sanfilippo tweeted a pretty glaring picture last night that showed a couple sections in the upper deck just about empty, and this was halfway through the second period. And Steve, you were at the game, so
I was.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the attendance was like down there and some of the reasons you think may be behind it?
It was very dismal, and I was very surprised, especially after the month that we had in November, and then this one was the first game in December. And it's against the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, somewhat of a rivalry, a little bit of a rivalry there.
Yeah, they had 2 very good games in the beginning of the year. Maybe, I was sitting in 203 and looking across from me, in my area where I was, it seemed pretty filled, but not like all the way filled. I had about 9 seats between me and the next person, which I like having some space, but at the same time I like having fans around me. Looking across the stadium, and you just see like blatantly empty sections, which was crazy. I don't even know if I've seen this in like 2005, 2006, or whatever terrible year it was, 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
Even then, there were still people there. And it was just crazy to see, crazy to witness. At the same time, a really fun game to be at, really fun game to watch. It just, I don't know if it could be a combination of everything I'm about to say. The prices. This team has been very mediocre, average, but more so boring to watch.
Yeah.
Combine that with the prices, and it's just not a good look. So maybe like they're still like, the fans aren't like buying into it quite yet, which I don't necessarily blame them. Like I said, this team has gone on a 10-game winning streak before and then still missed the playoffs. And then you got to think it's early December, right before holiday shopping. I've seen this talked about on Twitter. Apparently, season ticket holders have said that like it's still like one of the lowest attended times. It's hard to sell tickets. Everybody, trying to gear up for the holidays. They're not going to spend money on these games. They'll buy future games and like all around like Christmas presents and all that, Hanukkah presents, whatever you fucking celebrate. Happy holidays. Around that, there was something going on at Xfinity Live. I think it was Camp Out for Hunger. There was a fucking Ferris wheel. I don't know. I was confused. My sister said, "Is that a Ferris wheel?" I'm like, "No, those are just lights."
Really strange time to have that. Isn't it a little bit cold for that?
Yeah, why is there a fucking Ferris wheel? I understand Camp Out for Hunger. Like, good luck doing that. Like,
do that in the middle of the summer when people actually want to camp.
Yeah, but I guess you're thinking it's around the holiday time they want to do this. But like, why is there a fucking Ferris wheel? I don't get it. But yeah. Other than that, like, I don't know. For me, it was still a great game to be at. Great game to watch. I always do a lap around the Wells Fargo Center, like at least twice, usually before the game, and then once like at least during one of the intermissions, which is usually me trying to find a bathroom.
Got to get the steps in, man.
That too. Usually it's me trying to find a bathroom. Okay, this one isn't as packed as the other one.
So wait, you didn't have your own personal bathroom this time?
No. I was not by one of those. My first question to my sister was, "Are we in the same section? Do you still have the bar in the bathroom above us?" No. Damn it. But other than that, it was also extremely nice. The game ended at 9:30, so like being there, great game to watch, and then leaving at 9:30, and then I got home like 10:30. It was great. So that was nice, but at the same time, you want more fans there.
Yeah, you want an atmosphere. You don't want it to be a freaking library.
Yeah, there was still somewhat of an atmosphere. There was one occasion where there was a majority of Leafs fans trying to start a Go Leafs Go. Never caught on.
Good.
But I could still hear it, which kind of bothered me, but it'll happen. I think it was the first time I've ever heard an opposing team's like chant attempting to go. But I will say this. I fucking hate the shoot it, yeller, the screamer, and then the hit 'em.
Oh, the guys that Voracek loves to call out on Twitter.
Yes. I understand slightly the shoot it guy, because obviously you want them to shoot it, but like I feel like every time I'm at the game I hear this always in like the same section or like a section next to me in the stupidest fucking circumstances. Like Ghost has it and there's like clearly a defender in front of him and then a defender behind that one. Like no, like don't shoot it then. Like sure it's Ghost, I want him to shoot it, but like sometimes I'll have a backhand. Shoot it! Shut the fuck up. But now it's the hit 'em guy that is really fucking pissing me off, and it's usually the same person.
It usually is, yeah. And he's usually about 7 or 8 beers deep.
Yeah, and also like 52 years old.
Yeah, and can't handle his alcohol.
Yeah. And he's also has like his children and then his children's children, and it's like, come on, dude, you're just embarrassing yourself. Yeah. It's like the hit 'em dude is pissing me off more because it's 2019, the NHL is evolved to this point where like it's still a physical game, and sure, great.
It's more European now.
In a bit of a way, yes, but like you still want good, solid checks. You want those big checks, and like sometimes again, still turn the momentum, but at the same time, it's just this guy is yelling for a hit 'em when like me, a smart watcher,
Intellectual.
a smart intellectual hockey fan is like, if he checks them, then the puck's going to go to that guy who's going to have it, and then he's going to turn around, and then we're going to get scored against, likely. It's like, come on, dude. I understand the want of a big check. I love a big check. Sans a Zach Ronaldo check. They were never good. It's just, come on, man. Like, you watch the game for how long in your life that you haven't realized that, like, a big check isn't the best thing? Yeah. I don't get it. I mean,
there's a time and place for it.
Yeah, maybe it's just me, but at the same time, it's like, dude, fucking relax. They're not going to hear you anyway. We're in the fucking last row.
Yeah.
Even if there's 15,000 people in this building, they're still not going to fucking hear you. That's my last point about that. They're not going to fucking hear you, dude. You're 15,000 people. You're in the fucking last row. They're not going to hear you.
Yeah, and usually the guy who's yelling that stuff has no idea about anything that's going on with the game. It's the type of person who thinks that gossip bears it forward. It's the type of person who questions why a guy's sitting in the penalty box for 4 minutes when he drew blood on the high stick. It's the kind of fan who's, extremely casual, doesn't watch at home, and really doesn't know a whole lot about the game, but likes to act like they do when they're there.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like these fans do somewhat know the game. They just refuse to change their opinion.
Sometimes, yeah.
I say that because it's usually like the older crowd, and it fucking pisses me off. It's like, dude, chill. Just chill. Watch the game. Like, I get in those moments, like, mainly during, like, playoff games or, like, really, like, intense, like, rivalry games.
Yeah.
And usually when I'm not with my sister. I'm a different fan when I'm with my sister.
She changes you?
I don't want to embarrass her. So, like, I watch myself. I watch how much I drink and everything. I watch when I'm yelling out.
Look at you being responsible.
Every now and then it happens. If I'm with my friends, then, yeah, like, all bets are off. Like being at a kid's game.
Pretty much, yeah.
Kids' Day, I should say.
Yeah, so I actually got into a little bit of a back and forth with some people on Twitter last night regarding the attendance. I kind of posted a tweet that more or less called out fans for not showing up for the team. And, of course, I got the typical rebuttals. Ticket prices are up 20% this year. The team hasn't been good in, 5 years or something like that.
It's not that they haven't been good. It's that they've been
boring
fucking
hockey.
boring.
Yeah. Very boring Dave Hackstall hockey. Which I get, but then again, these same people who are saying this they're the same people who go out and spend $200 on a jersey.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I don't know. I mean, to me, like,
for a Christmas gift.
Yeah, back in the day, I remember us Flyers fans, we used to pride ourselves on being one of the best fan bases in hockey. We used to make fun of Pittsburgh for having an empty Mellon Arena back when their team sucked. Yeah, and now the tables are turned. They're selling out all their games out there in Pittsburgh, and now we're playing in front of half-empty crowds here in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So what I said earlier, like, adds to your argument. Like, even in 2006, 2007, we were still stacking it more than this.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, I always thought of us being one of those hardcore fan bases kind of on the same level as, like, Toronto. Toronto sucked for a long-ass time, yet they were still selling out the building night after night. And I thought the Flyers fans were in the same category as that. They would still attend games no matter how boring the team was and how expensive the tickets were, because tickets I think they're the most expensive in the NHL up in Toronto.
Yeah.
And they're still selling out every single game, or they still were when the team sucked.
Yeah.
And clearly, Flyers fans are not quite the same caliber as Maple Leafs fans in terms of their dedication to the team.
I feel like the most boring Maple Leafs team, though, that, like, in recent memory was probably the Randy Carlyle team. Because Randy Carlyle was a terrible fucking coach. But, like, that's such a diehard fan base that it's like, even then, like, they still had great players to watch, like Phil Kessel at the time.
Yeah.
It just sucked for them for what they went through. It's why, like, Maple Leafs followers are my, like, Maple Leafs Twitter is, like, my second most NHL team, like, tweeters, I guess, that I follow. And that's why, like, I kind of have a soft spot for them.
Yeah.
One, I love Kasperi Kapanen. Two, just seeing them go through that bullshit of, like, the Randy Carlyle era, and now this Mike Babcock thing,
which we'll talk about in a little bit here.
But yeah, the Flyers were always up there with them. It's just crazy. I think, like, they made the renovations on the Wells Fargo Center, which is why I understand ticket prices went up. But at the same time, you had a very not that good, like, product on the ice, and they were just straight fucking boring to watch. That hurts you, and I don't think they were understanding that. Like, Ed Snyder passed away. Dave Scott comes in, I guess, like running the shit. And he doesn't understand what was happening before, and like he's just looking at the money. So he's like, we got to raise prices. We're making these renovations to bring the crowd in. You got to raise prices to pay for that, though. It's not going to work out like that. I think by the end of the year, we'll start selling this out again, like maybe like end of January. It's going to start happening again, as long as we continue to play like we have.
Yeah, and people buy into the system, buy into the team.
That, and we get past the holidays.
True. That's another fair point as well. So, yeah, hopefully, if you're Flyers fans and you're listening to this, which hopefully there are a lot of you, get your asses to some games. I understand if you're waiting for the holidays to pass, you're a little bit low on money right now, but once the holidays pass, get your asses down there. Team deserves it.
Exactly.
All right, so we're talking about the Flyers. One team we haven't talked about a whole lot is their AHL affiliate, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And Steve, who were you brought up some stats before we started recording this episode. Who are some of the guys playing with Lehigh Valley right now who kind of stand out to you a little bit, who could potentially make an impact when needed for the Flyers?
Well, obviously we already mentioned it. We're hoping Vorobiev. Greg Carey and Cal O'Reilly are leading the team in points besides Vorobiev, but I think they're just career AHLers. They're not going to really be on the NHL level.
They're the Alexander Giroux of this team.
Yeah. I'm hoping Nicholas Abikubel starts to produce more points. I would love to see him in the NHL and earn his spot, because I think he was just your prototypical bottom six winger. Great on even strength. He can kill penalties, maybe every now and then pitch in on the power play. Everything I've seen from him, his stats, even watching clips of him, I love his game. Other than that, Maxim Sushko, best name ever.
Absolutely.
I will always have high hopes for him because of his name. Isaac Ratcliffe looks like he's a disappointment right now, but he's that bigger frame. He's got to get adjusted to the pro game. He's only got 6 points and only 2 goals right now in 16 games. Hopefully he gets it going. Other than that, it's just crazy to look at this roster right now and the stats, and I think they had the most goals by a player, the most players with goals in the league. I think I saw that from I think it was Bob Rotruck or maybe Tony Andrikanatis. I probably mispronounced that, but they're both great with the Phantoms. Bob Rotruck is one of the announcers, I think, and then Tony covers them.
Yeah, just looking at up and down, they have a whole bunch of guys who have shown up in the goal column.
Yeah, and man, they have Berube and Lyon with them right now. I just really hope that eventually that they just cut ties with Berube and just give Felix Sandstrom a spot, a chance with them. I want him to get AHL time because I really have high hopes for him. Carter Hart, he's our future. He's done well. He's proved it. Sandstrom, I think he doesn't have as quite that high ceiling, but I think he's close to up there. I want him in the AHL. I want him to prove this to me and to us and to other teams. I want him to be our Corey Schneider, basically, at the time, of proving himself that he can kill it in the pro level, and then eventually we trade him for a 9th overall pick. Maybe not quite like that, but a top that missing piece, and maybe a draft pick after we start trading to get rentals.
Yeah, it's a good point. Allowing Sandstrom to get some time at the AHL, and maybe even a couple year down the road, getting some backup time at the NHL level, backing up Carter Hart, just to do something to kind of improve his trade value a little bit.
Right. Let Alex Lyon be our new Neil Little. Just constantly being that Phantoms goalie. I mean, Lehigh Valley loves him. I've seen it. And you know what? He is perfectly capable of being an AHL starter, but I don't think he's quite NHL backup level.
Yeah,
so kind of like a quad A guy.
Yeah, let him go down there and win all those Calder Cups as the lifelong starting goaltender of the Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
Yeah, and you just pay him a little bit more than you would anybody else. But give Sandstrom his time. Let him develop. I don't know if he's going to necessarily get that in the ECHL. Kirill Ustimenko in the ECHL, I think he needs that time. But Sandstrom, I think he needs to be at the AHL level and really develop this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, I don't know, I don't see him having anything to gain by playing at Reading right now. The way I see it, all of his competition there is a step below where he is. And if he came up to the AHL, he would be playing against competition that's at the same level that he is.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
So, yeah, he doesn't have anything to benefit from, or anything to gain, I should say, playing at Reading. I think he does need some time at Lehigh Valley. So, yeah, and another player I want to keep an eye on, you mentioned before, is Knack, Abe Kubel. He's got 7 points in 22 games with the Phantoms, which, it's not eye-popping, it's not setting the world on fire, but we've seen him up at the NHL level for short little stints. And
6 minutes a game.
Yeah, being buried by Hackstall, just like every other young player who comes up.
Yep.
But, yeah, we've seen some of the things that he can do at the NHL level, and I think that he's a player to keep an eye on down at Lehigh Valley, because I think that with another injury or, whoever going down for the Flyers at some point, it's inevitable. We're going to lose a guy again at some point this season. I think that Knack, every time somebody goes down, he's going to be one of the first names mentioned in terms of guys coming up.
Yeah, and I think the scary part about him is that he's waiver eligible.
Yes, that's the only drawback, really.
Yeah, so, we call him up, and then, if you want to send him down again, then you have the risk of losing him. And if I'm a team, I feel like I'm smarter, I would immediately try to claim him off of waivers.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that's proven himself, from juniors to, his beginning of the AHL career. He just seems like that guy you want in your bottom six.
Yeah, he's a guy who, if you have, a lesser team, a team that's kind of towards the bottom of the standings, maybe like a Detroit or something like that, that if you put him in the bottom six, he could become kind of a mainstay there.
Yeah.
And, maybe even
cheap.
Maybe even a better team, a team that's contending for the playoffs, he could get some fourth-line minutes there.
Yep, and then eventually you make it to the playoffs, and all of a sudden, look, he's having that one guy in the playoffs that scores 13 goals.
Yeah, he'd be
Fernando Pisani year.
Like Dale Weiss that one year with Montreal that led the Flyers to signing him.
Yeah. I do want to say this about the Phantoms. I'm looking at the stats again, and I'm finding it I'm dumbfounded seeing it. TJ Brennan, I love TJ Brennan. That guy never got a shot in the NHL, a true shot. But he has been a mainstay in the AHL, and I'm happy that he is on the Phantoms, because I think he's great. He's a great leader for a defenseman, a defensive core. He's only got a goal and 6 assists through 20 games. That's weird, because his whole thing is offense.
Yeah, a bit of a slow start for him. We'll look to see if he's able to improve on that.
Maybe he's just playing a more defensive game this year. I don't know, because Andy Walensky and Tyler Wotherspoon, guys that we just signed off the scrap heap, they have 12 and 10 points. Maybe they're just taking over, and TJ Brennan's okay, you guys do it. Let me just play defensive now.
The same struggles that Shane Gostisbehere was going through up until the last couple of games.
Well, TJ Brennan's 30 years old.
He is, yeah. But the basic premise models himself as an offensive defenseman. Remember, Gostisbehere only had one goal, I think, up until the Detroit game. Or was it 2 goals? Might have been 2.
He only had 1 until recently, so I think he has 3 now.
Yeah, because he scored last night and he scored in the Detroit game.
Yes.
So maybe TJ Brennan's kind of going through the same struggles there as an offensive defenseman.
Oh, well. As long as he can coach up Mark Friedman, who's our next best defensive prospect that we have right now, besides Cam York, who's going to go through the college route, I guess, I think, or maybe juniors.
Yeah, that's what he's doing, I believe.
So yeah, Mark Freeman's our next best. All of our defensive prospects are up now. Mark Freeman was that other guy. Everybody else we signed up the scrap heap. But yeah, they both have similar numbers, Brennan and Freeman. That's why I'm bringing that up. But yeah, continue.
Yeah. Anyway, gonna get to some around the NHL stuff, and obviously the big news surrounding Bill Peters, that situation up there in Calgary. Bill Peters, I believe he officially resigned before they fired him, but the whole the allegations that come back from about 10 years ago, his former minor leaguer, I believe, Akim Aliu, allegations that Peters was not the greatest person, made some racial comments in the locker room, was abusive, called out the music that he was playing in a racist way in the locker room. And after that, we've kind of had more or less a Me Too movement among the NHL players, calling out various coaches for transgressions that they've had in the past. Mike Babcock has been implicated now on a bunch of things. What's your take on what's been going on with this, and how do you think the Flames did in terms of handling the Bill Peters situation?
They should have just fired him. based off everything that's coming out, like, sure, you want to run your investigation and everything like that, but, like, no, you don't give him the chance to just resign. You go, okay, this is fucked up. You fucking fire him. He's like, okay, we're done. You're trying to keep him of saving face, even though, like, there's clearly evidence of what he's done. I'm sure it was, like, what, like a decade ago? But still, it's like, okay, this sucks. We have to fire him now. When Rod Brindamore, the assistant coach for him, comes out and says, yeah, there's definitely, like, this definitely happened with, like, other players, it seems like.
Yeah, he brought up the Michael Jordan thing.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, the hockey player.
Right at then and there, you say, okay, I can't say, like, right after that, you fire him. It's like, okay. That should have been part of your investigation. It seems like the NHL needs, like, a fucking HR, a human relations thing. Because, like, the things that Dan Carcillo has said, Mike Commodore about Mike Babcock, like, there's a long list that, like, players are afraid to, like, speak out because they want to lose their position on the team.
Yeah, they don't want to lose ice time, which means money in their pocket.
Yeah, and that fucking sucks. These are professional athletes, but that's still their fucking job. Their job is to be an athlete. You need some sort of, like, a human relations thing. Maybe there is, but, like, they're not doing enough, it seems like. This Bill Peters thing, Akeem Eliu, he fucking, I remember him. Like, I think he was like a second, third round pick. I gotta look this shit up now.
He was the one who had an incident, I believe, with Steve Downey.
Yes, but he was still, like, he seemed like he had, like, problems of, like anger problems. Seemed like much like Steve Downey, but, like, he was still, like, a solid player, much like Steve Downey. But from what I was reading about it, like, when this happened with Bill Peters, he had, like, 20 goals or something like that. And then, like, this happened with Bill Peters, and then he said, fuck you, like, I don't want to do this anymore with you. And then he gets sent down and essentially ruins his career. It sucks to see, but, like, I want more of these stories to come out. I want players to be more honest about, like, what the fuck is happening to them. Like, you need to. Like, look at the shit that's happened to Steve Montador, like, Dan Carcillo, fucking Derek Bugard, like, they're enforcers, basically, with the concussions from that. But, like, Dan Carcillo was a skilled player. He became more of, like, a grinder, like, enforcer type throughout his career to, like, try to, like, find a niche. And you see him now. He's a great person. He is the change that the NHL needs right now, like, trying to, like, advocate for everybody. Like, you're fucking hurt. You got a concussion. You got to come out and, like, try to say, like, you feel fucked up. Like, hey, there's going to be help for you because Dan Carcillo is trying to find it for you. You went through some fucking shit. A lot of things that we've heard before but ended up being brushed off was a lot of sexual fucking harassment in hockey.
Yeah.
And it was, like, not just, like, players. It was fucking coaches doing it. It's fucking insane. Hockey has been fucked up for a while, it seems like. But it was always, like, behind closed doors, it was just brushed away. It's fucked up. These players need more respect from not just the fans or, like, the owners or anything or anybody paying their bills. They need respect from the media more. They need respect in their fucking paychecks. They are, like, what, the lowest paid fucking sport?
Oh, by far.
It's fucking absurd.
By far.
They play an insane sport.
The most physically demanding out of the four major sports. I believe even more so than football.
I 100% agree. Football is, like, up there in second. Baseball. Fucking Zach Wheeler. He can be a great pitcher. He's getting a $100 million contract.
Yeah.
What?
And in basketball, you get paid like $150 million to be the 12th man on the bench.
You just made me angrier. Basketball. Fucking basketball. Where you just run up and down court and you shoot a fucking three or you fucking run up to someone.
Basketball, you legitimately get paid like $10 million a year to be the guy who sits on the end of the bench and plays like 5 minutes the whole season.
And your biggest at-risk injury is tearing your fucking ACL. Okay, I've done that.
Yeah.
It hurts. But at the same time, if you're playing hockey, you could fucking fracture your ankle. You could fracture anything in your fucking body from a stick or a slap shot. If you're a goalie, holy fucking shit. The risk you have. I know they have a lot of padding, but oh my god. These players need to get paid more. They need to be respected more in all aspects. It's just absurd. This Bill Peters thing, it's fucked up. I'm glad he's fired, quote unquote resigned. Mike Babcock, hearing the shit he's done, this really started with Mike Babcock. I mean, Akeem Elio, I think. I don't know if it was before or after Babcock got fired. But when Babcock got fired, Mike Commodore on Twitter, I respect Mike Commodore. I remember him in the NHL. It was the pre-lockout. So in that day and age, he was actually a really solid defenseman.
Yeah.
No NHL, he doesn't really have the speed. But that's not his fault.
Even after that, though, he's a solid defenseman for that Canes team that won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, so Mike Commodore, great personality on Twitter. He, trade deadline, pack your shit. It's great. Great hashtag from him. It's fantastic to see, and, he usually kind of, tweets out before the player gets traded. The Mike Babcock thing, he was, so happy about it, and it was fantastic to see other players, gravitate towards it. It was everybody thinks he's an asshole, but he's fucking right.
Yeah, there's one player I remember who disagreed with him. I forget who the player was. It was some guy who's been out of the league for a little bit. But, yeah, a whole bunch of other players came forward, and even Chelios came forward as well.
Yeah, and it wasn't even about Chelios. It was about another player on
Johan
the Red Wings.
Franzen.
Yes,
Yeah.
and who probably doesn't want to come out with it. And I think he did eventually doing it.
He did, yeah.
In Sweden.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes some more sense. And then, maybe it wasn't interpreted as well. I don't know. But it was good to see. It's good to see this shit. Just because, weed out the fucking fuckheads. Get them out of here. I feel like Dave Haxall probably has some stories. Or some stories about Dave Haxall, I should say.
I don't know. I think he's too boring of a person to do that stuff.
I guess, yeah, you were actually back there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to side tangent here. Peter Laviolette literally punched Ville Leno in the helmet during a timeout. We'll never forget it. But you know what? I don't even think that was purpose.
No.
Purposeful or anything demeaning towards Ville Leno. It was just the heat of the moment and Ville Leno just happened to be there.
Yeah, I don't think Peter Laviolette's that kind of person. I don't know if I told the story on the show before, but up in Long Island, my friends and I were waiting for a Flyers-Islanders game. We're outside the team hotel, right? So we walked into the team hotel to use the bathrooms, and we were coming back out. We saw Laviolette walking over to a conference room for a team meeting, and we asked if he could take a moment to take a picture with us. And he literally took 5 minutes to take pictures with every single one of us. He was the nicest dude you could imagine. So
that's great.
Unless he's just putting on a front for us, and he's a completely different person outside of that, I don't see him being an asshole who would screw with his players.
Yeah, that's a good story. I kind of lost my track. I want to say this: the NHL has a very dickish reputation, in all aspects. The Florida Panthers fucking fired Gerard Gallant, who's a great fucking coach, and they made him take a fucking Uber. They didn't give him a ride or anything. They just said, "Yep, all right, you get his own Uber." I think the NHL needs to get their fucking shit together. They have a great sport. They have great fucking players. They have fantastic players. Let them fucking speak their mind. Be fucking personable. Have a personality. Jake Voracek. We love, on this podcast, we love Jake Voracek for his honesty and then for his play. Not so much for his cap hit for me anymore, but I still very pro Jake Voracek. But it's let these players be who they are. Just be fucking honest. Fucking increase. Gary Bettman has made this fucking league so much money, allegedly. Give them more fucking money. They need more money. Get a better fucking TV deal. Get these players more fucking money, and then give them more of a fucking say. I'm now pro NHLPA, and I think in the next CBA, this shit with Bill Peters and Mike Babcock is going to come up.
Yeah. I'll be honest, when I first heard the story, I thought it was nothing more than Akeem Aliu. I thought he was being kind of petty and digging up something that happened 10 years ago, but then hearing all the other stuff that came out after that, I'm like, okay, there's actually something to this here. The whole Michael Jordan thing where he physically abused Michael Jordan. Yeah. And then there were reports of some other stuff I can't remember off the top of my head that he did during his days in Carolina, both physically and verbally abusive to some of the players.
I will say this. I'm sorry to interrupt. Rod Brindamore was the assistant coach, and he's saying yeah, it happened. What the fuck were you doing, dude? You're Rod the Bod. Just fucking step in.
I know, right? Knock a dude out there.
Fucking break your nose again and knock him out. That's another thing that's absurd to me. It's just fucking insane that shit's happening. And unfortunately, Akeem Aliu is a black player. And even Wayne Simmons came out and was like, yeah, we as black players, we always have to deal with these racial slurs and everything that's said about this. That fucking sucks. especially now it's 2019. Like, we're all fucking people. Like, fuck off. Fuck your racism, your racial slurs. Like, stop it. This man is playing hockey. He's a hockey player. You talk to him like a fucking human being and a hockey player. Like, I don't fucking get it. It just pisses me off.
You put these guys out there on the ice, there should be no color. They're all playing for you. They're all teammates. They're all your players. It shouldn't matter if they're black, white, or yellow, you know?
Exactly. It's fucking absurd, and it just pisses me off. And hopefully, I think this CBA is about to expire in, like, what, a year or 2 years?
Yeah.
That's something that should be addressed. Put Dan Carso on the NHLPA. Put him on, like, that board. Have him talk for at least their mental health and just in general.
Also, what's the deal with him hating rap music? I mean, has he ever been to an obviously, he's an NHL coach. What do they play during warm-ups? They play, like, EDM. They play rap music now in warm-ups.
It's absurd.
The Flyers, when they were on the HBO series back before the Winter Classic in 2012, they were playing freaking Mac Miller after every win.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. It's fucking pisses me off.
It's stupid.
Everybody's a human being. I don't care. I've been a boss. Have I treated my underling, quote unquote underling, like my employee, as like as a piece of shit? Maybe like once.
Yeah, but not because of not outwardly intentional.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you fucked up. Like, the fuck you doing? That's it. I'm not gonna demean them and be like, yo, the fuck you doing? Like, I know you're better than this. You can do better than this.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's a messy situation there with Bill Peters. Moving on to another NHL head coach who's now out of a job. This one for a much, I guess, better reason, being simply that he just didn't do a very good job. John Hines out in New Jersey the other day. I forget who they brought in as the interim.
Elaine Nasreddin.
That's right.
He was like their assistant coach. I don't blame you for not remembering it because I almost didn't.
Anyway, who do you see potentially being the long-term solution there in New Jersey, their next bench boss?
I'm not sure. It really depends on who's fired next, but at the same time, I'm thinking, like, depending on how they do, he finishes out the year, and I'm just going to assume that Tom Fitzgerald, their assistant GM, he went to the bench, which is kind of like the red flag of, like, Hines is about to get fired. I think he'll stay there, and then they'll see, like, what they want to do. But again, I think it really depends if any, like, other big-name coach gets fired during this year.
Do you see, even after the allegations, potential for Mike Babcock in New Jersey?
No. I don't see Babcock coaching until at least 2021.
So you think that he's going to be out for a couple of years?
Yeah. And if you're a team that hires him, you're actually taking a risk after all this, because I have a feeling that there's going to be more coming out with him.
There probably will be. There already was a story about him, that issue he had with a reporter back in 2007.
Yes, yeah, I saw that, Andy Strickland. Yeah, I saw that, who was actually a very big, he usually breaks like a lot of St. Louis Blues news, and that was actually interesting. But yeah, Mike Babcock, I think he's going to have to take a year away, and then like a team that's like really been down for a while will have to be like, okay.
Yeah,
it'll be like, okay, like Babcock could be like, you know, I've been through like therapy and all this, like I've realized the error of my ways, I'm a new person now. So I just don't see Babcock coaching this year or next year.
Yeah, it'll probably be a little while. If Dave Haxtell, honestly, if he didn't have a job right now, I could see him being a candidate for New Jersey just because his boring style fits their boring style there.
I don't know, man. Lou Lamoriello is not there anymore.
That's true.
And I think they have new ownership too. The Josh Harris, whatever.
Yeah, same guy who owns the Sixers.
Yeah. So I think they just bide time with what they have now, just going with the interim, and Tom Fitzgerald also like kind of like having more of a say. I think one of your notes, sorry to like interrupt you with it, was who do you think is the next coach to get fired?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Babcock got fired, Hines got fired, and here I was saying that Bruce Boudreau would be the first one to get fired. And while we're talking about it, I meant to check up on the Minnesota Wild with it, and I'm going to do it right now. And they're still not doing too hot. I can still see Bruce Boudreau getting fired. And if he does get fired, I could actually see the Devils going after him.
See, my guy, I think Blashill gets fired out in Detroit.
I think Eisman is a very patient man. I think he's going to stick with him until the end of the year. He knows this year is nothing. He's going to see what they have right now as a roster. If he does get fired, they're not going to hire anybody else out, and the Devils are not going to hire Blashill. But I think Eisman's just going to keep it going. Maybe fire him for one of the Grand Rapids coach, if that's their other AHL team. I think it should be.
I think it is, yeah. Grand
Maybe
Rapids.
he goes that way. I mean, it worked out for him in Tampa Bay, firing Guy Boucher for John Cooper. But I just don't know. Let me look at Grand Rapids' roster. Or not roster, their team stats. That's what I'm looking for. Standings. But yeah, I think he's really just trying to evaluate this with his first year there. Like he learned from Ken Holland at first, which also fuck Ken Holland. Going back to the whole Mike Babcock thing. Leaders of the Detroit Red Wings locker room went up to him and said, "This guy's an asshole. We don't want him to coach anymore." And he said, "Deal with it or request a trade." These are leaders like Pavel Datsyuk, Henrik Zetterberg, Nicholas fucking Lidstrom, the best defenseman of all time, in my opinion.
Yep.
And, probably Chris Chelios, too. Like, how the fuck do you have the gall, the audacity, to just look at these players in their face and say, no, just request a trade?
Dude, the situation there with Mike Madonna, one of the greatest American hockey players of all time, and Babcock scratched him for the final game of the season to prevent him from hitting a milestone. I forget what the milestone was.
Also,
it was like a career
I hate
game
the
split
fact that Mike
milestone.
Madonna was a Red Wing.
Yeah, well,
He should have been a star forever.
should have
North
been.
Star and star forever. But, that's a thing that happened. But at the same time, I will still agree with you.
It's the same as the Jason Spezza situation up there in Toronto. He signed with his childhood favorite team, and he was going to open the season playing against his former team, and that jackass Babcock, he scratches him.
Yeah, fuck that guy, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to the coaching staff for the Grand Rapids Griffins right now. Trying to see if it is actually a guy. Sean Horkoff is working for them? Ben Simon. I don't know anything about Ben Simon, so I can't answer anything. Mike Knuebel's an assistant coach
No
for
way.
him.
I can see Knuebel being a head coach at some point.
Yeah, well, he's working his way through the AHL.
Working his way up.
But yeah, I'm going to reiterate. I think Blashill stays the whole year. They just are trying to evaluate their talent right now, and then Blashill gets canned at the end of the year, and then they hire someone else. Certainly not Mike Babcock.
Yeah, not going to go round two with him. All right, running a little bit short on time here. Real quick, there's some teams out there that clearly are not going to be playoff teams this year, teams that should be selling at the deadline. Who's one team in particular that you could see selling, and from that team, who's one player in particular who you could see on the move?
Oh, man. I did prepare myself, and then I just forgot it. But I had to go look back right at Detroit.
That's who I'm looking at as well.
And were you thinking Mike Green?
I was thinking Darren Helm, actually.
Really? Let me look at this. I'm going to cap friendly. Let me see if it makes sense. Darren Helm, he's got 2 years. Kind of a hefty cap hit. I could actually kind of see it. Going to the right team. Darren Helm, he's 32 years old, but he's still such a fantastic, bottom six player.
He is, yeah. He was the one guy who actually showed up for him when they played the Flyers the other day.
But I can see Mike Green getting a hefty haul. He's 34. He's only got 1 year, though, but you're thinking you just get this 1 year out of him. So I'm thinking he get a second-round pick. Maybe a first, depending on how the other market goes.
He's got the talent when he's got the right surroundings. He's a pretty decent offensive defenseman.
Right. I'll never forget him murdering Patrick Thorson's balls.
Yeah. I'm sure Patrick Thorson's balls don't forget that either.
His one testicle left, yeah. But yeah, I think Mike Green is going to command a decent amount. I still think he's a solid player. I mean, he's 34 years old. He's an offensive defenseman. He's at him right now is what we hope that Ghost is, at least a third pair guy, top power play quarterback. I think Mike Green can still do it. I think he can still be moved. But the thing is that he has a no trade clause, so a modified one. But I think he is a guy to look at.
Yeah, I could see that happening. A veteran player, a team that needs some stability on the blue line, needs maybe a power play quarterback to kind of get their power play going a little bit.
I can give you another one in just like 5 seconds.
Let's hear it.
Holy shit, Nashville's that low in the standings?
Yeah, they're struggling lately. They're, it doesn't say what they are in the last 10, but yeah, they're out of the playoff picture. They're only 3 points out with a couple games in hand on Vancouver, but still.
All right, I'm going to look at Ottawa real quick, and then that's going to be the last thing I'm going to look at, which is the only team I'm going to look at.
All right, well, in the meantime, I think, as I mentioned before, my player to look for, also from Detroit, Darren Helm. Yeah. If he does go anywhere, I could see him going to the Western Conference, maybe a team like Winnipeg or even an Arizona or a Dallas or one of those teams that's kind of in the hunt and still trying to solidify themselves. I could see him finding a spot there. I could see them having what Detroit's looking for to trade away and also being willing to take on that cap hit for a veteran forward who can provide some good bottom 6 minutes for you.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, I'm looking at Ottawa and J.G. Peugeot. I think he's a fantastic player. Great center, especially an elite third line center, I would say. Maybe it's a little bit saying too much, but I would say that much.
He's the kind of player who he can play really well in spurts. Like he had that 4-goal game against the Rangers in the playoffs.
Yeah. I just think he's a very solid player, and I think he's on the last year of his deal. I think he could get traded elsewhere, and also I could see him just signing back in Ottawa for some reason.
Who would want to do that? That's a good.
He's just the kind of player I think I could see doing that.
It's like a death spell. Look what happened to Bobby Ryan when he signed in Ottawa. It's like a death spell signing there.
Yeah, but also here's the thing: I'm comparing it to Mikhail Bodker. Mikhail Bodker, very solid player. Not so much anymore. He's only 29, but his best years were in Phoenix before the move to Arizona. He did fantastic there. Got traded, didn't do too hot. Then he signed with another team, didn't too hot. Gets traded back to Phoenix, does extremely well again, and then goes to Ottawa, or I think San Jose and then Ottawa, and he still has been average at best. And now he's a Senator. So he could get traded as well, but J.G. Peugeot, I could see him being traded and getting a hefty return.
Yeah, he is a solid player. I could see that as
He is the kind of guy you want going into the playoffs. Yeah. And I could see it going to the West Coast.
So anyway, real quick before we finish up here, go into the Rage Room. What's pissed you off in the last week?
Me. I have pissed me off. I bought NHL 20, and they let you do, you create your 30-second team in the NHL, you do an expansion draft. I've done this 3 times already, and I haven't liked my team, I haven't liked my jerseys, and I have to do this all over again. This is about 6 hours of my life in the past week.
Oh, man.
So it's me. I fucking hate myself.
You just can't get it right with that.
Yeah, I can't, and it's okay, I'm figuring this out. And the funny thing is, you do the expansion draft, but you still have to sign people to be on your AHL team. Yeah. And me, I love doing this. I'm signing all these players that are a member that are just swept out of the NHL. They're all in Europe now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to sign them all. I did that this 3rd time around, but I still hate my NHL team. And I just got to start over, and I'm just going to do it again.
Oh God.
But
I know you'll get it right.
I know it's going to be the last time. I'm just going to stick with it.
All right, so my Rage Room moment of the week. Well, not really a moment, but my Rage Room is for everybody in the automotive industry because I just took my car in for an inspection, and I found out that I'm going to have to pay nearly $1,000 for new struts. And I'm fairly certain that I probably don't even need them because I know that the automotive industry is built on a mountain of lies just to make more money. So I'm really pissed off about this. And as you mentioned when we were talking about the Flyers attendance, it's the holiday season coming up, and I got to spend money on gifts and shit like that. And now, if I want to pass this damn inspection, I've got, I think it's a 30-day grace period to pay $1,000 for new fucking struts. Jeez. So, fuck you, automotive industry. I fucking hate you, and I hope you burn in hell. So, any final thoughts here before we wrap this thing up?
The final thought is Shane has just walked into the studio. He is carrying 2 water bottles, 3, and we were about to do... Okay, he's got 2 glasses. We're about to do backyard beers and football, which can last an hour and a half. So he's going to drink all of those, and he's going to complain about having to piss during the whole time.
For him, it's backyard water and football.
Literally. Me, I have the beers, but he doesn't drink them.
And for me, it's backyard coffee and football.
Touche. I am the beers and the backyard beers and football.
All All right, so my final thought is if you're looking for something to eat on a Flyers game day or any situation, whether you're sitting at home watching the Eagles lose another football game that they probably should win, if you're looking for food for any situation, hit up Just Food, 215-794-FOOD. They're located in Buckingham Green off of York Road and 202 in Buckingham. Also have a location at Delaware Valley College. Treat yourself, take it home. Just Food, once again, 215-794-FOOD. And before we log off of this show, just a quick reminder, you can find us on Twitter at ANY Podcast. You can find me at radio_Rob. Steve, where can we find you?
At Schminny324.
And Shane, we can find at Shane_Mead. I believe that is correct. He gives me the thumbs up. It is the right Twitter handle there. And you can find the Disciples of Ed at Disciples of Ed, all one word, no underscores or any of that bullshit there. And you can find us online currently at www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com, although that may be changing soon. We'll keep you posted with that. You can find our show on iTunes, Spotify, Spreaker, and yeah, if you're on iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, and of course, subscribe to us.
I will also be guesting on another one of my friends' podcasts. I don't remember quite the name right now, but I will tweet it out. I will be on there. I will grace them with my fantastic Flyers knowledge and improve them. And then you should listen to it and then just love me during it.
Absolutely. So stay posted for that. Anyway, thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Disciples of Ed. We will be back with another show, hopefully as happy and upbeat as this one, next week.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, danced a jig over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.